Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer LB4312-400-646. This is a single acting full mortise spring hinge. So the LB stands for the fact that this is a lube bearing, which is a maintenance-free sort of bearing assembly by Bommer. The 4312 means that it is a 5/8 radius corner with an ANSI template pattern, meaning that the screw holes are in what is called a template pattern, referred to as the standard pattern. It's non-manufacturer specific. It's just the typical pattern that you would have for the screw holes. Very commonly what you're going to end up having on something, but not exclusively, so you want to confirm the placement of the holes in your door and frame before you buy this hinge. 5/8 radius is also very common for residential doors versus a 1/4 inch radius or a square corner. 5/8 is very common. The 400 part of the part number means that it's 4 inches tall, and that's the first dimension on it when you measure a hinge like this, 4 inch tall by 4 inch wide. And the 646 part of the part number means that it is in the satin nickel finish. That's that color, satin nickel. You can see that it is a full mortise hinge by the swag on the hinge leafs there, that it's intended to be mortised to the edge of the door and to the frame, such that it's flush when it's closed. Okay. There is, below this video, a guide, an outline in terms of how many spring hinges you would use based on the door size and weight. Really up to 3070, 3 foot by 7 foot doors. 85-pound doors, you'd be typically talking 2 of these spring hinges, and up to 110-pound doors, you'd go up to 3 spring hinges. I'm a fan of all spring hinges, even though you can mix and match this with the standard hinge, of course. The axis of pivoting is compatible with the standard hinge. I'm a fan of all spring hinges for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're inexpensive, so it's not, they're not that, it's not prohibitive to buy an extra one, but the real payoff, I think, for having all spring hinges is the success rate that you have of a door being self-closing is greater when you have all spring hinges, because you can ask the work or the load of each spring hinge to be shared or distributed better, rather than just expecting the majority of the work being done by just one hinge, which is always the top hinge, really. The problem with not enough spring hinges is that you've got to crank the tension, set the tension on the spring very high to get the door moving with enough inertia to get it actually through the entire closing cycle of the door. And sometimes you've got to turn the tension up on the top spring or the 2 springs that you have so high that you can actually force the door to slam. I have found that with the inclusion of an additional spring hinge at the bottom, not necessarily the bottom, but all spring hinges, let's say, you can get a greater success of the door not only getting closed and doing so without slamming, but getting it to latch nice and regularly, without there being too much, closing force, too much speed on the door. I equate it to having torque. Like a tugboat doesn't have a top speed very high, but it has the ability to pull by means of having a tremendous amount of torque, let's say. And having that workload distributed among more springs just is more successful, where the door's more stubborn, let's say, to get through the closing cycle, because you've got friction of the air pressure that the door is sweeping through, you've got friction of the hinges, you've got the friction of the latch bolt striking the strike plate as it closes to the door. You can buy 1 or 2 and add an additional 1 or 2 if necessary. But just relaying my real-world experience. So setting the tension on these spring hinges is very easy. The tension collar, which is that ring inside that's got those 2 holes in it, that has many holes, but those two that you can see, is set by the tension collar being pointed in the up direction. And this hinge will work for a left-hand door or for a right-hand door. It'll work either way, of course. You insert the tension rod that is included. That's that black piece of rod steel that you see there. There'll be a tension pin included as well. This there's 2 in this bag because on this order there are 2 hinges. Tension rod gets inserted into one of those holes, and you turn it clockwise, and then as you can see, you reveal more holes. And into those new holes that you reveal, you insert a tension pin, and you can continue to set that over a little, 1 or 2 more times, and that will set the tension. Instructions for doing that, and we've kind of just covered them, happen to come on the back of the box that the hinge comes in. However, if you get a hinge without the box for whatever reason, there is a link below this video to the installation instructions, which covers everything that we just basically talked about. The thickness on this hinge leaf is about 109 thousandths of an inch and would be compatible for residential hinge thicknesses between 85 thousandths and 109. And good quality hinge by Bommer. Last thing I'd like to show you is the Bommer logo that's on that hinge. Kind of see that there. Anyway, right above the logo it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. Very good quality company, Bommer. They're a full line manufacturer of all things hinge related, both residential hinges like this to commercial grade, wide throw, stainless steel, swing clear, heavyweight, everything almost that can be imagined. Bommer is a domestic manufacturer of that material. It does also include screws and a complimentary finish. All wood screws, all machine screws is what you're going to get, and can be bought in any quantity, can be ordered in multiple finishes, can be ordered in several different size and corner and screw hole combinations, and if it's a hinge that you're looking for, there's a chance that Bommer is going to be able to fill that for you. If you have any questions on the Bommer LB4312-400-646 single acting residential spring hinge and a satin chrome finish, satin nickel. 646 is satin nickel. There is a difference. Or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.